Welcome to the CyberGov podcast, where you'll learn how to build a cybersecurity strategy that will help you earn more revenue across your government contracting business. Welcome to the CyberGov podcast. I have a special guest here, Michael Council. Come learn with us today why you should be using GRC in your cybersecurity strategy. Michael, welcome, my good friend, to the show.
Hello. Hey, Romeo. Thanks for having me on your show. And I think this is a very, very good subject that will help out your audience and people that are new and, incoming to your audience. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for your time.
Man, appreciate that. Please do the honors, because I don't know if I would do it any justice if I really introduce you, extraordinaire GRC Army guy, 586. There, I could go on for days, man. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Okay, yes. Hey, well, my name is Michael Council. I'm a CISSP CISM certified ethical hacker and also a PMP, but I've been doing cybersecurity and GRC work for the past 15 years. Started out in working in the military doing it, moved on to government contract positions, and I opened up a company, EC Technology Consulting Services, where we want to bring some of that experience and that technical expertise and understanding of the government and how it works with the public and private sectors to help and assist people in their GRC journeys and some of their other strategic and executive level functions. We offer vCISO services on top of GRC services, gap assessments, and we've been doing some work in the CMMC 2.0 field, getting ready to take the CMMC professional examination soon and move on to the assessor examination as well. So just building up our organization so that we can support the people out there and help them in their GRC journey, whether it be on the federal government side where they need CMMC consulting or assessment help, or if it's on the public side and they need something like PCI DSS or even ISO 27001. So I think later on in this conversation, we will actually talk about those two different sides and how to diversify your business so that you can protect your contracts.
Awesome. That's a great field, and especially with GRC and a lot of things that you talked about. There's a theme there with GRC. I mean, you know how I do it. You down with GRC? Yeah, you know me. I'm old school, man. I'm old school, so that's the only thing ringing in my head. But there's a theme there. You keep mentioning GRC, folks in their GRC journey, customers in their GRC journey, governance, risk, and compliance. Why is that important for a government contractor to really build that into their cybersecurity strategy?
Well, I think you could just take it from just the words, right? When you spell out the acronym, because when you deal in certain industries, there are governance and regulations and frameworks that all of businesses must be able to abide to when you're working with these organizations. And what we don't want to do, we don't want to bring in additional risk, right? Mm-hmm. We understand the risk that we have in our organizations, right? That's why we talked about having a gap assessment, right? Because you should be at a certain level, but you need to look at the controls and you need to understand the governance, the regulations, and see where you're at in that particular regulation. What's the difference, right? So you look at your risk, you track your risk on something like an enterprise risk register, so you understand when you're approaching these actual customers and you want to be involved and tied into their environments, what risk you're bringing. Are you going to use your own resources, or are you going to get a resource from the actual customer? So that may be different how you look at that risk, but because of our experience, we understand that. And then compliance. Are you going to comply with the statutes, the regulations, and the frameworks that you should have? Like when you look at federal contracting, a lot of people know CMMC 2.0 is out there. December 16th just passed. Mm-hmm. That rule has been put out. So there's going to be a phase-in period. So why wait to the last minute? Why not get someone who has knowledge, who's been studying, who's taking the tests, who has access to a network of people who have a firm understanding of that actual framework, so we can start looking at you. And then other compliance methodologies, ISO 27001, which is the international standard, which could open you up to a lot of larger private contracts and work with private companies. But also, it helps you have faith and confidence in your organization that you have the right tools in place. But I always want to say this: compliance is not cybersecurity, right? You want to have these processes in place. You want to have the people, you want to have the resources, and you want to have the knowledge. So you have these processes in place so you can have cybersecurity. And these processes are just like a check on learning to make sure you're doing the right things at the right time and you're protecting your customer and your personal business data.
Absolutely. Now, you said quite a few things there, but I love how you broke down the acronym for GRC in the governance, risk, and compliance. Two things stuck out to me here that I think from a government contracting perspective, if I was a government contractor, I'd probably ask you these things. And this is what, everybody's going to want to know. Why would I need to do a gap assessment? Like, how does that benefit me?
Well, I'll tell you, you should do a gap assessment because you don't know what you don't know, right? What is your starting point? So when we look at these frameworks and these regulations, we look at this as a basic bare minimum, a starting point of what you should have in place for your organization to show your consumer base or your customer base that you have cybersecurity and you will protect their data, right? So these are frameworks, these are standards and regulations that are put out by authorities and bodies that say, hey, this is what you should have. So the gap assessment is going to give you the opportunity to take your environment and what you have in place, your controls, and look at your IT, human resources, and all your resources and say, hey, up against this framework, this is where we're at. These are the issues that we have. It's going to give you the opportunity to have a risk register, right? Mm-hmm. And in that risk register, it's going to tell you, hey, this is a risk. This is what you can do. It'll give you a pathway and a roadmap on how to correct that and to fix it. So from a strategic perspective, you can add, vCISO services. We talk strategically on what type of customers you want to go at. And with this gap assessment, what you need to put in place to be able to grow your business using cybersecurity.
So what I'm hearing is like this gap assessment should help out government contractors take a look at what they have, possibly what they don't know that they have, and what they may need to help build that cybersecurity strategy and earn even more revenue within that government space.
That's exactly what it will do for you.
Awesome. Because I know we've talked about this before, but a lot of folks look at government contracting cybersecurity work as a cost center. Like, not just in government, but as a whole, a lot of folks look at cybersecurity as a cost center. Look, I'll get to it when I get to it. I'm sinking money into it, and it's kind of like insurance almost, instead of looking at it like, you know what, we can utilize cybersecurity to help us achieve more. And cybersecurity professionals can look at their business goals, the business goals of the organization, and say, here's where cybersecurity can help you meet those or exceed those business goals. So absolutely, man, I'm right on board with you, right on board. And I appreciate you bringing that up, talking about the gap assessment. There was something else that you mentioned too around CMMC. Like CMMC is here. It was not here for a long time, kind of going through, a situationship over the last 4 years. But now it's official. It is official. It's out here. Now, all of us government contractors bear the burden of trying to select someone to help out or help them become compliant or help them and guide the way. What advice would you give a government contractor that is looking to select a company that can help them on their CMMC journey?
Well, first, I would tell them, do your due diligence. Make sure that the resource, the asset that you're getting understands and know CMMC, understands the rules, understand some of the history and why it's come along, because that all ties into the effort and what they'll bring to the actual table for you. Make sure that they have some consulting experience, that they've worked with large and medium organizations to do things like gap assessments and other assessments to put controls in place, because that's exactly what they're going to do. Like, you can look at it from twofold. There's going to be different phases that you're going to have to go through in your CMMC journey. I would recommend going through a gap assessment first, so that you can look at SP 800, 171, and 171 alpha to look at the controls and see what, like you said, the gap assessment, where you're supposed to be at, what you have in place, what is the difference. And then you come back, you pull back, and you actually look at, hey, I need a roadmap. How am I going to get there? So that's where, those fractional, those vCISO services, that strategic planning, and that actual CMMC guy working with you, or it may be a different guy. And then actually someone who understands the CMMC marketplace, and they're on the CMMC marketplace. You see that they have the certifications, the CCP and the CCAs can assist you and help you out. And also understanding that it's new. So there's going to be some people that have actually, worked in the past and done some certifications. So, depending on what cost you have, what experience, you may want to work with somebody as you move closer to the actual assessment, who's done assessment, so they can come in and help with the consulting. So, just understanding that the people that you hire need to have these skill sets. So make sure, hey, they're certified, make sure they're working in the network and they understand CMMC. It's not just somebody who's just like picked up the book recently and say, hey, I do CMMC. Yeah, great. Are you certified? Are you working with
cyber? Point. That is an excellent point.
Because, hey, they're just looking at it as another framework, but it's not.
Good point. That's an excellent point, because you don't want to select somebody, go with somebody that could be CMMC certified, but they also paint. Maybe that is,
no, exactly.
Hey, we could paint this room and also get you certified at the same time. That don't go together.
No, you want specific skill sets, and you want someone who's tied into that network, because things are changing, and there's some subjectiveness to it, right? There always is to assessments. So having someone in that network that's able to pull in people that may have more experience or may have been involved in some of the ODIPCAC Defense Industrial Bases certifications, having that ability to pull those guys in, it's so valuable, and it will help your business out a lot. And also, I always recommend, when you're sitting in on certifications that you haven't been through before, to have somebody there to consult and be there with you and help you kind of explain what's going on.
So what you're saying, I believe, is, hey, if you are getting certified, and let's say you have a certification that's going on, companies coming in and they're doing a certification, you want somebody that can kind of translate what's happening in the background, what they're doing and how they're doing it. Is that right?
Absolutely. Having somebody who's been through before, having a liaison, right? Someone who's certified, who understands the actual certification process, someone who's been through a lot of certifications, is going to bring a big advantage to your organization when you're going through a certification.
Awesome. Thanks for that, because I know folks listening, as they think about their CMMC journey, there's a lot of people out there that will be coming at them very fast. Hey, we can get this CMMC piece done for you. We want to make sure that they're able to select the best company that can provide the best service for them and make it easy for them, right? You don't want somebody speaking a bunch of jargon. We talked about SP 171, that is NIST Special Publication 171. So you want somebody that is going to talk to you and even explain some of the terms to you, because a lot of these are going to be foreign. So you definitely want whatever company that you go with to be able to explain the terms to you, to explain what's happening, to explain the security controls and how they're meeting them, what you're doing, and how they're going to help you out. Yes, indeed.
Well, I would tell you some ways to vet and look at these. One of the first things you're going to do, you're going to make sure that it's someone you can work with, because this is not just a quick experience or a quick process where they're going to come in, they're going to do something for you. They're going to be working with your organization for an extended period of time, and it's going to be a substantial investment. Let's just put it out there. It's going to be a substantial investment because a lot of times small businesses don't have any cybersecurity in place. So they have to get you started. So they have to get you to a point where you have the basics in. But you may want to start at level 1, right? Where you're dealing with federal contract information. And then, you can move up to level 2 and 3, depending on the contracts, where you're working with. But remember that there's going to be a pass down where it goes down to the subcontractor, where you're working with controlled unclassified information, right? So that's going to be level 2. When you're looking at that stuff, you want to make sure that you have somebody there in place that's going to brief you so you understand what's going on and they can map out the roadmap, how you're going to get to where you got to go.
So I want to highlight something real quick. You mentioned this will be passed down to subcontractors. So if you're a prime, you need to be CMMC certified. If you're a sub, you're going to be held to that as well, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, correct.
This is why we're here, right? To push this information out so that folks understand, hey, this is going to impact not only me as a prime, but any subcontractors that I'm doing business with as well. So it makes it a bit more difficult because now as a prime, you got to be selective in who you riding with. Like who you got on your team, you got to be selective about that. So vice versa. If you're a subcontractor, you got to be selective because you don't want to get involved with maybe a company who's a prime who has no clue around their cybersecurity strategy, CMMC, or any other framework that they need to ensure that they're following and are in compliance with, which I'm going to ask you some questions about frameworks coming up here shortly, because we've been talking about that quite a bit.
Okay. And I just want to say, I want to drive the point that as a sub, yes, it goes down. Like you said, you should also be careful who you work with as a prime, but we're going to get to a point where, people are going to start losing contracts because they don't have this in place. They don't have the CMMC certification, right? So you want to get ahead of the game, but also as the primes go through and they start to look at the subcontractors that they're working with, they're going to start peeling off the guys who don't have it. So people will start to lose business. And remember, at the beginning, I said we can talk about how you can grow your business using cybersecurity. So key point, if you want to become more attractive to the primes, get out ahead as a small business to start working on your CMMC journey now. So you're ready. And they'll pick you up. You'll see your business pick up. Of course, you have to do all those other activities as well, but you'll be ready when you get the subcontract agreement and the teaming agreement.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point to really drive home. Look, it's coming no matter what. You will have to do this. But if I get ahead of it, implement those specific controls and become CMMC certified, I become more attractive to other prime contractors as they're looking for subs if I'm a subcontractor. But even if I'm a prime, if I'm working with another prime and we're doing a teaming agreement of some sort, I'm still looking attractive because look, I'm certified. Now let me ask you this question though. If I'm a prime and I'm already CMMC level certified, let's say level 1 or level 2, and another prime wants to work with me, would you work with them? They have not started their journey. They're nowhere near. Would you work with them in that capacity from a cybersecurity perspective? Well, it doesn't even have to be cybersecurity. Let's say construction. Let's say we're two construction companies, right? My company, we haven't not begun to touch that. Your company, another construction company, is already certified down that road. Would you work with us?
Well, I would say, as we always say, as air defense warrant officer, it depends. It depends on what it depends on what the actual RFP says. Do you have resources that I don't have, right? Can I bring in your resources? And resources just is information technology and data. It's personnel, right? They may have an intimate relationship with the organization that you're trying to get the contract with. So can you make an agreement to bring those people on and bring them under your actual organization. So there may be ways that you can work around it, but I say be careful, working with the IRS 1099s, W-2s and things like that. It'll be a little difficult, but I will say there may be a way that you can bring on some of their resources and assets to help you out, but it's probably going to be difficult, from a actual information technology perspective if they haven't done anything and they don't have anything in place.
Absolutely. That's a great point. That's why I asked that question, because I know folks out there are working with other companies, right? Nobody can do this alone. Like you have to work with other people. This is built to, team up, do joint ventures, mentor, protege, all of these different opportunities that folks have to work with other people so they can go further, right? We do those types of things so we can go further, but there can be a limit if your cybersecurity practices are lacking. So
Yes.
take that into consideration. It's about everyone's data, not just the government. It's about my data, your data, the government's data. And if there's one piece that's not together in this puzzle, it could be a major issue for all of us. So yeah, that's why I specifically asked that question. Curious about that. Now I wanted to get into two more things. One, you mentioned cybersecurity and how it can help you make more money. Everybody I know that's in government contracting is looking to upscale their revenue, right? They got a sales funnel. They have certain goals that they're trying to meet, targets they're trying to get to. How can cybersecurity help you do that?
Well, it's going to help you do that because it's going to make sure that you're prepared for those contracts. And why do I say that? Because, there's already clauses in the contract that say you should have basic cybersecurity in place, right?
So that means people should be looking at their contracts now, right? To make sure to find out, is there a clause already in there that you don't know about? Hopefully you do know yours, but did you check?
Yes.
So that's the first thing. Making sure that they identify, is there a clause already in there that speaks to the cybersecurity?
Yes, absolutely. Because and I just was typing it up right here because I didn't want to get it wrong, but it's DFARS clause 252-204-7012, safeguarding covered defense information. So there's 15 basic controls that you should have in place already. So when you're actually looking at these RFPs and everything, take the time to go ahead and put that in and see if that's in place already.
That's gold right there.
It's been out there for a few years.
That's gold right there. So
I know some people are using AI already, or even Control F and go through and look at that, and then go back and refer and look at the controls you have in place. Do you have the basic controls in place? Are you doing physical security? Are you making sure that access control is in place? Are you destroying data? Do you have a data handling policy? Do you have your policies in place? So like we said, when you look at these gap assessment, some of the follow-on services that are covered from the vCISO is going to be the awareness training. So you can get the cybersecurity awareness training, make sure that your people are trained and aware. And then the next thing you're going to get your policy documents, because you don't have processes and procedures in place if you don't have policies. So from a strategic perspective, as a leadership, you put out the policies, and then the people that work for you, they're going to put out procedures and guidelines in place. So it's just like a checklist, right? They're doing these things over and over and over again to put these things in place. So you have basic cybersecurity hygiene, so you're able to maintain these contracts or bid on these contracts. Because if you don't, I'll tell you how you can lose money. A fraud investigation. They have whistleblower. Everybody could be a whistleblower and say, hey, this company doesn't have this in place, and they'll get paid and you'll get fined.
That another piece. Thank you for highlighting that. One, that we should be checking these RFPs for this specific DFARS clause. Two, you don't want to fake the funk, right? You don't want to act like you got it and you don't. And then somebody protest or whistleblow on you, and then you find out, what, it's up now. Now it's really up because I'm about to get fined. And once that happens, there's a major issue, credibility and trust into your company and your background of what you're saying that you can do or what you have. So thank you for highlighting that and looking that up too real time. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
Well, I mean, this all goes back and feeds into the regulations, right? And I said you can get fined, and you know how they're gonna hold the evidence against you, because as you're doing these contracts, you're reporting a separate system, right? Hey, there's a cybersecurity module to that too, where you're saying you have these things in place. So they're gonna say, hey, you said in your SIPRs and your prior performance rating system that you had that in place.
Yep.
But you didn't. So
Good
that's a
point.
false statement, right? So, you know, a lot of people saying, hey, you make false statements for getting a gun, you get false statements with that. So you can be held accountable by the federal government for these false statements and putting their data at risk.
There it is. Just by saying we're doing these things, but we're really not doing them, you can be held accountable and liable for those. So great explanation of how cyber can help you make money or
help you keep your money in your pocket that you made.
how it can help you make more money, help you keep the money in your pocket, or make you lose money, depending on what you're doing with your cybersecurity strategy. One of the three things is happening. You're either making more money, you're keeping the money that you have and you're stagnant, or you're losing money based on your cybersecurity strategy. Excellent, man. Excellent. Last thing I want to talk about, well, one of the last things, I'm not totally done yet. You talked about frameworks. So I'm a government contractor. How would I know which framework I should be using for working with the government? Any ideas around frameworks?
Well, with the frameworks, it depends, right? If you're dealing with federal data, you're using federal systems, right? You're in the enclosed federal enclaves, right? You're most likely going to be doing RMF, or if it's something real old, DIACAP for you old guys out there, a risk management framework. But 853, this special publication 853, right? What we're on our revision 5 right now?
Yep, we're on revision 5 right now.
So that's going to help you when you're dealing with federal government data. So you should be familiar with the contract. Once again, you should be reading the requirements in the contract. It'll give you an explanation of what you need, so you understand where you're working, whose IT resources and tools you'll be using. So those will be federal government tools, right? So your personnel resources will be embedded working on federal tools, right? In a controlled environment, classified environment. And then, like we said, for CMMC, right, you're going to be using non-federal or non-government IT resources, right? So that's going to be this special publication 800-171, and your control is going to be in the alpha annex. Now, when you're dealing, and we talked about other frameworks, when you're dealing in the civilian world or the public-private, you're going to get into other things like PCI.
I'm gonna interrupt you there for a second. So when we talk about those frameworks for the government, if we're talking about risk management framework, things like that, we're looking at things inside of the federal government and their devices and enclaves. Is that correct?
That's correct. Absolutely.
And then for our government listeners, when we're talking about CMMC, we're looking at certifying devices that we have in our networks for the government. So just kind of wanted to make that distinction there so that our listeners understand when we talk about frameworks, risk management framework, we're looking at these government enclaves and getting them certified with an approval to operate, versus the CMMC portion is going to be for government contractors like you and I, where we need to get certified on the networks that we have to ensure the data that is traversing there is secure. Yep. Thank you for pointing that out.
So there's going to be, non-federal or, devices that are not owned by the federal government. So as you're processing the data, those will be your devices, in your specific boundaries. So yeah, definitely.
100%.
And then we were talking about on the outside, right? Non-federal contracts, public and private, because we want you to make money with cybersecurity. We want you to be attractive and not only have federal contracts, but to diversify your portfolio of customers and have, private customers. So if you're dealing with credit cards and things like that, PCI DSS, payment card industry, data security standard. If you're dealing with private companies, your whole total system could be looked at under the ISO 27001 framework, where it's a framework, international standard, where they're saying, hey, these are basic cybersecurity controls that you have in place. And it's a certification. You can put the actual certification on your website, and it makes you more attractive. It's just like ISO 9001, right? Quality standards, saying that you have standards in place, understand the importance of cybersecurity. You're telling your potential customers, I have this in place. I've been certified by an external auditor. So there's a level of rigor and stress, they know is guaranteed by that authority or that certifying body. So they'll say, hey, I trust doing business with this small business because they put that level of effort in there to protect my data.
And it helps to build trust. Look, I'm trying to protect not only my data, but I'm also trying to protect your data as we work together. So perfect. Thanks for highlighting that. I had another question for you. It is related to cybersecurity, but more so, why did you start your business? Why did you choose to start a business that focuses on cybersecurity?
Well, first, let me give you a brief introduction on why I got into cybersecurity. I had an IT degree. I was supposed to work IT in a couple positions, but, older Army male, end up doing just regular radio jobs, just carrying radios and stuff like that. So after I got my degree, Patriot War Officer, started working in a training environment that had a enclosed enclave, right? So we needed authority to operate. So that goes back to that 853, this special publication 853, and making sure it was DICAP back then. But to try to get the authority to operate and connect with other networks, because it didn't, we couldn't do training just in that enclave. We wanted to be able to connect with other networks, use other resources that we had to be authorized to connect to. Well, I did that for a while, and cybersecurity was kind of ramping up, getting big, and it was very interesting to me. So, I have a little bit of programming in my background, and I decided I wanted to do that for a while. Did a little Unix, got out, did some contracting, working a little while, and then I came back to the US for a big contract that fell through. So I said, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. So I started my business with my expertise in cybersecurity and everything I've been doing for the past 15 years. And here we are.
Love to hear it. I love to hear a good backstory. And context around that, and how folks got into cybersecurity, how they started their business. The journey is never linear. It's never like this, like I got an IT cybersecurity and it just goes like that. It's always different. I love to hear those different waves and pitfalls and highs along the journey. I'm a music education major. I completely thought I was going to be the next producer, i.e. Diddy, but you can't say that right now. No, not right now. That's not a good time to say.
You're from Virginia, Pharrell. You can be Pharrell.
Yeah. I'm look, girl, we rep Virginia, so Pharrell is still running that music game, and definitely that's really where I thought I was going to go. Still love music, but ended up in cybersecurity. That is a much longer story, which I'll end up telling along the way in a few podcasts. But thank you for letting me know how you got started on your business. Could you tell me how folks can get in touch with you? Because you had a wealth of knowledge to talk about. One, GRC. Two, how government contractors can become attractive and make more money by being compliant and building out their cybersecurity strategy. Lastly, how can I get in touch with you to learn some of the services and get you on board with their company?
Yes, some of the ways to get in contact with me, I have my business. We have a website. It's www.eccybersecurity.com. So www.eccybersecurity.com. And just go ahead and drop us an email when you're on the site. Even if you see some things that on the site that you want to be changed, or if you see some of the services that interest you and you want to know more about them, drop us an email. We'll go ahead and set up a call for you, and we'll have a quick discussion. Also, you can reach me at my email address at mcounsel@eccybersecurity.com, or you can reach us at LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn. It's under my name. As you can see the tag right there, it's Michael Counsel. So just go on LinkedIn, you can find me. But also, I will go ahead and share with you a page that you can, send out attached to this, where it has all my contact information and my card as well. That way they don't miss any other ways to get in touch with me.
Awesome. eccybersecurity.com. Go there, take a look at the services that Michael offers. Man, this is long overdue. Long overdue. You and I know that we went through some things to get to this.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
I really appreciate you, brother. I really do. Thanks for coming on here, talking about GRC, explaining that, talking about CMMC in a way that folks can grasp that and understand why they need to do it, how it's going to help them in their business, and how they can make more revenue across their business by doing these types of things. Once again, thank you, Mike. I appreciate you, man. And we'll be talking soon.
Hey, we'll be talking soon. And I just like to say another way they'll be able to kind of communicate with me. We have some webinars that'll be coming out on the same subjects that we'll be putting out on our website, and also attached to LinkedIn. And also, I want to get you on an upcoming podcast called the Cybersecurity Council.
Yes.
You're always invited, but I think you're an integral part of the Cybersecurity Council because, hey, we're like the Justice League. We have to get out there and we have to help out. We have to help everybody out with our knowledge. So.
I like it. With the play on the last name, Michael Counsel, Cybersecurity Council. I love it. I love it. Please let us know so I can really push this on this show as well. On the times when you have that podcast out, please let us know. Love to do that. Definitely love to do that.
Hey, well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And absolutely appreciate you. Thanks again, Mike. And we'll be talking soon, brother.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Come listen to us on YouTube, LinkedIn, or your favorite podcasting app.